should not be 300.
We don't 300, 500 now they carry now.
The chief.
You don't know how much before now.
Oga, na 300.
I said now 500.
Oga, give me my
Don't
change.
change.
Inflation. Just a word. But like yeast, it makes everything rise. Rise so high, even our savings can't fight. From food, to transportation, to clothing, to even rent. The reason basic income barely feels like it came. Our hard-earned money failing to dance to the rhythm of inflation. We barely get through today, only to worry about tomorrow. Yet, tomorrow carries so much hope on its shoulders. Hope amidst the fear of how it will turn out. But despite the gloom, there is good news. We found the best way to save with Jollof Plus. Interest so high, 21% net, even inflation stands no chance. So today, we breathe and choose to secure tomorrow. Today we save to beat inflation tomorrow with Jollof Plus. Download the Jollof Plus app on the Google Play Store or Apple Store and earn up to 21% net on your savings.
It's a beautiful day here in Lagos, Nigeria. Hello everyone, welcome to the Techpoint Africa Podcast. I'm Oluwanifemi Kolawole, and with me in the studio is Bolu Abiodun.
Yep.
Your regular host. Chimgozirim is not in the studio today, and before he comes next week to accuse me of not referencing that or acknowledging that I just acknowledged, please tell him. Yes, today we have a number of conversations to go through, not just in Nigeria, but also in one East African country, Kenya. But we want to start with a very important conversation, which is a move that Telcos in Nigeria are considering based on or because of the economic situation. Apparently, the economy is affecting a lot of things, including how telcos are able to survive, because they are thinking of reducing the number of services they are offering, which in other words is called load shedding. And interestingly, this is the first time load shedding will come up in a conversation that has to do with telcos, unlike it is for power, electricity, you get. And I'm addressing this soberly because telcos, telecommunication, and the services they offer form a very strong backbone to everything that tech is built on. They are internet providers. They are the ones that help you connect with people within and outside the borders. But now they are saying that due to taxes, the money that banks are owing them, overhead costs, their profits, all these things are not encouraging them to keep performing optimally as they would always do. Now, Bolu, can we talk about what load shedding mean for
telcos?
Telecommunication companies, yeah.
All right. Yeah. So it's not that different from It's not that different when people who provide electricity say they want to do load shedding. So let's start with the electricity side of things. So if NEPA, for example, says they want to do load shedding, which we already do.
We don't do load shedding in Nigeria. It is portioned.
Yes.
South Africans can talk about load shedding.
So it's basically we do not generate enough so that it will now go round, right? Some people will get at some times and some people will not get at some times, right? It's just basically you have a couple of children, maybe there are plenty, and then you say, okay, you will not eat breakfast. That breakfast that you're supposed to eat, I'll give to this one to eat lunch, and then this one will not eat dinner, and then you do not have something like that. So that is pretty much what it means. So in the context of telecommunications companies, what you want to do is some areas, right, they will limit the amount of services rendered in some areas. Is that really a good way to put it? A more accurate way to put it would be that some areas would have limited access to their services at certain times.
Oh yes, of the day. Maybe they
Yes.
start throttling it.
Exactly.
Maybe in the evenings, or if they
Mm.
feel that this area there's more traffic towards the evening,
Exactly.
they might give them internet, or not throttle internet in
Mm.
the evening, and they throttle it during the day.
Yeah.
So it's as if they are portioning it, like let
Exactly.
this go round.
Exactly.
It's sad.
So it's sad, but you also have to consider. The next question should be, why exactly are they trying to do this?
Yeah,
And
I was going to
it
ask
is the simple answer is doing their business in Nigeria has gotten a lot tougher, has gotten a lot harder, right? Recently, MTN, which is one of the largest telecommunications companies in Africa and in Nigeria, recorded about a 700 billion naira loss,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's a huge loss, right? And
Add that
it's
to how much challenges they
yes,
go through in repatriating funds because of the towers they use.
exactly. And these towers, thank God you brought them up, they need constant electricity, they need constant power.
Mhm.
And the cost of running these towers are becoming too much, which is now where the load shedding comes in.
Mhm.
So what these towers do is that every area, right, you have towers that kind of make sure that a particular telecommunications company, their services work in your area. So those towers are spread across all those areas, right? So to power these towers, you need electricity.
Mhm.
As we know very well in our beloved country, electricity
A
is
luxury.
is a luxury, right? And then what these telcos have to do is they have to buy diesel,
Mhm.
right? And we know what diesel price is,
Prices as well,
currently.
yeah.
right? And a lot of these companies, like I said, they are recording losses, right? Especially FX losses. And they are looking for ways to cut down costs. And they are looking at this place. Because someone mentioned that in 2001, when we had all these telcos coming in, the government promised them 18 hours electricity to function, so that their cost of operations will come down to a particular level.
It is this
But
same
now
Nigeria that
it's a myth.
that these telcos are targeted for high taxes.
Yes, they pay a lot of taxes and
Yeah.
levies.
Yes. Now the thing is, if you want to survive, there are two things to consider. You either lower expenses or increase your revenue. Like now, a way to increase revenue is to
Increase
tariff.
Which they actually try to do,
Okay.
but I think the NCC kicked against it, right?
Mhm.
Because per regulations, they can't just do that. But they appeal to the NCC that they need to do it, because things are getting really difficult for them. And I think this is another avenue they are looking at. Like, okay, we can't increase tariffs. We have to start doing load shedding.
And probably force the hand of the regulator. Because
Well, the regulator has responded.
It's been a while since the NCC reviewed the cap and floor for tariff for telcos. I think the last time they did, maybe not the last time, but the last time I did a report on it was like as far back as 2020, 2021, when they reviewed the cap and the floor. Like they've not reviewed it, and given the current economic situation, I think prices like this should be reviewed. Yes, it will tell on users, but businesses have to survive, and they just have to find a way to make sure that the increment will not be too much inconvenience for users. But for the sake of this company that is powering a very huge sector of the economy, it's something that should be reviewed. And what is the NCC saying about this?
Okay, so not exactly the NCC, but it was the president of NatComs, and he said if they go ahead with this, what will happen is people.
You mean with increasing the tariff?
No, with the load shedding.
Okay.
Right. What will happen is people will blame NCC for bad network and things like that, which I really don't think will happen. I don't think there was ever a time I tried putting a call through or trying to browse the website and it won't work, and I'll say, NCC, why are you doing this? No, I'll say
it's not the
MTN, what
NCC,
is
yes,
going
it's
on?
my service provider I will go for.
Right. Yes. And I'm sure they've I mean this just goes to show you how much these companies have thought of, because
Yeah,
it also affects them.
Yes, they will
Right.
lose subscribers. People
But
that
yeah.
probably use them for data we go for ISPs, foreign ISPs,
Yeah.
Starlink. To the
and
rescue you
them
get.
thinking about this means it has gotten to that point.
Yes, extreme measures.
It has gotten to that point. And he's saying he's the president of NatComs, and what he's saying is that they will blame NCC, and people will start wondering what's going on, and then it will affect other sectors like banking, health, things like that, which is
a lot of
correct.
sectors will be affected.
But these companies cannot continue to run at a loss, right? And I won't even blame NCC, right? The problem is a bigger one, right? The entire economy is in a mess.
Yeah.
Right? And something needs to be done, because rightly, as the NatCom's president said, if it starts to affect other, because it means that
industries are based on this particular sector.
Yeah.
You cannot afford that something goes wrong with it. It's going to crumble many other parts.
Yeah. So something needs to be done. ASAP.
Something has to be done. No, I'm not going to suggest a subsidy. Not a subsidy, no. But the regulators have to just be reasonable and do like meetings with the stakeholders on how to work around this. We can't afford load shedding when it comes to the internet.
Yeah.
We can't afford it. We've been bearing enough for electricity, for power, but for internet, it's going to be messy. Yeah. It's going to be messy when you reduce your services for calls. It's going to affect emergency services. It's going to affect banking. It's going to affect e-commerce, commerce, everything, generally. Trade and commerce rather. It's going to affect it. So I hope the regulators reviews this and find a way to address it. We can't allow the telecommunication sector to go ahead and suffer for this.
Today's Insight of the Week. In Nigeria, the telecoms industry's contribution to the GDP has hit the 15% mark twice in 5 years. The link to these insights is in the description, and to see other interesting insights like this, simply go to intelpoint.co.
Yes, that's said in a sober mood. Lagos State is up to something again. Yes. I know 2 weeks back we talked about Lagos State. Last week we talked about Lagos State. Here we are again, Lagos State and doings. Yay. Anyways, the newest update is that Lagos State is looking to tokenize real estate in the country. Well, I don't care about it. Let's but Bolu is here. Bolu is our emerging tech reporter, and it seems, I don't know whether he's excited about it, but I felt a sense of it in the article he wrote. I think we should talk about it, like tokenizing real estate.
Yeah.
Okay, opinions to myself. Bolu, please.
Okay.
What's my business with this?
So let's start with, what does tokenizing real estate actually mean? It's basically breaking it down into smaller pieces and making it possible for people who necessarily do not have the lump sum to invest in real estate to take part in real estate investments. Right. So there's a building in Lekki that you would like to invest in because it might appreciate in a couple of years, but the building is worth 500 million naira, and you don't have 500 million naira.
Obviously.
You probably don't even have 50 million naira.
You don't even up to 100.
So tokenization will, what it will do is it will now break this real estate into fractions, right? And then it will make it possible for you to be able to buy a particular fraction of that real estate, and then if the price eventually appreciates, you earn, right? And this also means that properties will become more, on paper, they'll become more liquid, right? Because you are not just looking for one person, which obviously will be very rare to have people who just have 500 million naira lying somewhere to invest in your real estate. It will make real estate more liquid because there are now
More
a lot of people.
people.
Yeah, so you can just open your laptop one day, you see, and this is just surface level stuff, right? You just open your laptop one day, there are different websites where you can invest in real estate. You see one you like, put in your card, click buy. Sort of like just buying food on an e-commerce website or buying something on Amazon Prime. Basically, that is
So,
what
wh- wh-
tokenization
wh-
will look like.
What's the motive behind it?
Yeah, the motive behind it is
For
similar
the state
to
government.
so for the state government, right? Which is a very valid question. Right?
Mhm.
The motive
Yeah,
behind
the
it
winners and
is revenue generation.
Oh God. Why?
Which is
How
not a
did
bad
I know?
thing.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Which is not a bad thing, right? Because generating revenue. If you've looked at, there's this document they've created where they've highlighted things they want to do to generate revenue, and they have a lot of things in that document. The good ones, the bad ones, the ones people have complained about. Yeah. But what they want to do with it is revenue generation. Creating that platform means that they can generate revenue from such a platform where you can go and invest in real estate, where you can go
And the government takes a share.
register your take a share. So that is basically what they are planning to do. But the thing with real estate tokenization is that it's not as simple as it sounds, right? And especially in this part of the world, right? One problem you encounter is data, right? How many houses or real estate is duly registered?
And the state database.
Yes. Yeah. Do you already have a database of those registrations, or are they just manual registrations? If you already do have a database, it's now easier to tokenize them. And then you also have to think of how exactly do I want to tokenize them. If you are tokenizing them on the blockchain, then you have to create a blockchain infrastructure, right?
Mhm.
I am pretty sure, based on what the Nigerian government has done with blockchain over the years, I can say for certain that they will not want to use existing blockchain infrastructures, which are usually public blockchains, right? They will want to build out their own infrastructure that they will have more access to, have more control of, right? So that's another thing you need to think about. And then you have to think about regulations.
They are the regulators.
Yes. Yeah, but then it's not that simple because you have to to an extent, you need to create new laws, right? A lot of new things need to be created to regulate these things properly, right? How do you gauge an asset? What an asset is what? How do you even break down these assets, right?
You know what this reminds me of? I don't know whether it was this year or last year. By the way, Pitch Friday is this Friday. So if
Yep.
you want to attend, you can come to Zone Tech Park by 3 p.m. this Friday. It reminds me of the pitch of one of the founders at a Pitch Friday that pitched exactly this idea.
Yes,
and the skepticism that filled the room that day was the fact that how do you want to place value? Like, so it came through the NFT side. Like, okay, so you have a copy of like the documentation of that real estate, right? Once you buy a token, I don't know how you people put it.
Yeah.
Once you buy a token on that part, maybe a building, you will have like an NFT giving you a proof that you own a part of this thing. So it's as if they are giving you the documentation to a house that you don't fully own, but you own a part of.
But you know a part of.
But that day, people loved the idea, but the skepticism bordered around regulation and how you want to convince people that this is the value of this house, since real estate appreciates, and also coupled with the challenge of documentation, which you mentioned, because some of these houses, how do you want to prove to me that I'm buying the right real estate, or whether I'm putting my money in something that even exists is Lagos. It's Lagos.
Yes, and those are
Where
some of the issues.
you
Yeah.
get those were the issues we expressed that time. But I'm looking at it now with the government championing this.
So let me just break it to you, right? And anybody who has been in the blockchain space for a while, right? Because the government is planning to tokenize it on the blockchain. And anybody who has been in that space will tell you for free that this announcement, you will not hear anything about it again. You will hear it. See, it is not today that the government is telling us things about the blockchain. They told us they were using blockchain for something in customs. They told us about the era. We don't know where it is today. Because one of the reasons is it's simple on paper. Right? I mean, implementation, doing all the necessary work that needs to go into it to make sure it works is difficult. And most times it's just, to me, I think sometimes it's just government trying to project that, okay, we are technology forward. But I don't want to say bet it with me. I might be wrong. But from everything I've seen, from the kind of reception I've gotten, after that story, a lot of people in the blockchain space are just like, we've heard this plenty times, nothing.
And it seems that they're not carrying along players in the industry.
So yeah, they said they will be.
Might be hard.
Yeah, what they said was they will have partners they'll be doing it with, but they didn't mention any partners. And interestingly, we have companies in Nigeria that are actually trying to do something like this. The likes of South Africa, a couple of others. I can't remember their name now. So we have a couple of companies that are trying to do it. So maybe they might end up working with them. Who knows? But what I just want to point out, it actually sounds very interesting on paper. So an interesting thing, you brought up the NFT side of things. So it's just basically this property has papers, right? Let us document those papers on the blockchain, right? And then whoever has, so it's just a digital copy of those papers, and not just any digital copy. Not just, I have the document on my laptop. It is a digital copy that is very secure. That transferring it is a cryptographically secured thing, right? So with what NFT did was that, okay, this image, right? This is the certificate of ownership, right? Yeah. So it's not really the image you are owning. Anybody can have that image. But this certificate of ownership means you are the original owner of this image, right? If you want to transfer this ownership, right, these things are so interesting, created in such a way that there's something called smart contracts on the blockchain. So once you want to transfer ownership of that image, right, and someone buys it, right, someone clicks buy on a particular website where that image has been listed, right, and they successfully purchase it. Right. That ownership is transferred to them on the blockchain very securely, almost unhackable, right? And then smart contracts mean you can add perimeters to that transfer of ownership. That's okay.
You mean parameters?
Yes. Yeah. So, okay, when this transfer of ownership has been completed, right? Make sure that whatever amount that person has paid to get that certificate of ownership, give 10% to Crystal-Agnes. Because Crystal-Agnes
government.
Probably. Or maybe she's the owner of the website. Or maybe she was the one that facilitated the payment. So it's so automated and so needs very limited human input that error is almost non-existent, right? So it's a very beautiful thing, but like I said, there are still challenges.
Paper, it's beautiful. So what we are questioning now is if they want to go the long way to implement, because of everything that is
and only time will tell,
right? Only time will tell. But I think since it has to do with revenue generation, I don't know. Lagos State is trying a lot of things. Maybe this is one of those things that we stay. Just throwing everything at the wall. Let's hope this stays. That's it about Lagos State again this week. I don't know if I can say that I wish or I hope Lagos State doesn't come up in the podcast next week. Because now every time I hear Lagos State is it's another revenue generating plan.
Yeah.
And
They have plenty.
yeah, they are still unveiling it. Okay, I think they will be in the news next week too. Yes. Now let's move from Nigeria to Kenya. And this has been going on for a while. This thing we want to talk about, and that is the thing with the e-hailing platforms and the disagreements they keep having with their drivers. The update now is that Kenya ride-hailing drivers have decided that we're going to take laws into our hands. If you remember some few weeks back, I and Chim was doing well on this podcast to talk about them focusing on the wrong things, right? Making demands that are only possible for full-time staff, right?
Yeah.
And it seems that they've decided to focus on what they can control,
Okay.
which is defining what they want the first to be. So it's like they want to take the power out of, it's like going offline, basically. You get, the way drivers do when they pick your order and they say,
Can we
do
go
offline? What's the price that is showing there? There's traffic on the road. Let's agree on this price. And if you want, you go. So that's like what they are doing now. They want to set their own rate and fare. So they are trying to say, okay, now if you don't want to treat us like we want to be treated, we're going to take laws into our hands and define what we want people to pay while still using your platform to get those people. Right? And it has become a dispute between those riders and the e-hailing platforms. Why does this always happen?
So if you ask me why it is always happening, I would say they want to earn more, right? But the thing about it is you can't earn more at the expense of the person that is giving you the job.
The platform.
Or the platform.
No, they don't have the job.
Okay,
because those
the
people
platform
will say
to
they're not
earn.
employers.
Yes.
They're just technology companies.
I mean, if I'm providing a platform for you to make money and your making money is now affecting my own making money, that is not, it's supposed to be a symbiotic relationship, right? Where someone gains and the other person also gains, right? Mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah, but it's not looking mutually beneficial for the drivers.
For the drivers.
Yeah, and that has been the complaint they've been making.
So this is another thing to consider, right? And which is something I always bring up. For me, I think it is in the best interest of those platforms that the driver, because they're trying to make two people happy, the drivers and the riders. If riders are seeing exorbitant prices on the platform, they will not ride.
Yeah.
And drivers will not earn. Which is bad for everybody.
Platforms will not make commission.
Yes.
And
then they also have to balance it with, okay, not too exorbitant, but driver earns, he's happy, riders are happy, and we are also happy.
But it's not the raising of the fare they want to do. It's not even up to 100% increase, but close.
Okay,
it's really close. It's close to 100% raising.
It's close to 100%. That's
but yeah,
considering
I think I get
the
your
economies
point,
that we are
yes.
in.
Yeah,
it is a lot. It is a lot. If we are being fair, it's a lot, right? And I also still get the driver's agitation, right? I still get the agitation at the same time. So what I will propose is, and I think that is what they're trying to work on, what I will propose is a conversation because I feel like drivers and those platforms are not communicating well.
Well, from what we've been tracking all this while, I don't know, the drivers have been trying to communicate.
But the platforms
have not been like receptive for it. For instance, now this move that they made, Uber is telling them that those that do not abide by this platform rule will face disciplinary actions. It's either they are kicked off the platform or they are not allowed to get rights again. Because they're still your host. Like, I'm your host. Like, I still call the shots. I can try to make the shots to favor you, but I'm still the one that called the shot. And this is still a platform that you can that I'm making possible for you to use as a service. And this is kind of time that the point of, let's make our own local platforms.
So what's even making your own local platforms? That is it. Our own local platforms, where are they? Look at Lagride.
Exactly.
They're always having issues.
Exactly.
So it is regulation that is needed. The same way we have regulation for NCC and then all this MTN and everybody, they have particular prices that they can fix. I think this is what is needed. Because what is happening is that these platforms want to stay competitive.
Yeah.
And pricing is very key to staying competitive. But if a regulator comes in, right, and tries to help with that side of things, right, that pricing side of things, it will mean that everybody can stay competitive in terms of price, because we have someone regulating the price,
yes.
right, and then you now have to figure out other ways to stay competitive. Okay, how fast do you get rides? What perks can we give you?
Like, what's the cap per kilometer?
Yes.
What's the
floor?
You get.
I think that might be the only
So
solution.
I think this is another. We are coming back to the conversation of these people are backing at the wrong tree. Stakeholders should speak with the government to find a way to protect them. Regulations will now come for these people in form of protection. I'm not saying everything will favor them. I'm trying to say that once the regulators get involved, they can feel like, okay, now these are the things that these people cannot violate. If they violate it, then we can come after them legally and fight for our rights.
Yeah.
But all these things you are doing is like, I'm sorry, throwing tantrums, which those platforms can even use against you.
Yeah.
You get. So, but there's this thing I'm even seeing in the increment of prices. They seem outrageous. For instance, now, pick up and drop off from airports, which is, I don't understand why it's always high. Even
because you have limited options
from the airport.
Yeah. If you don't have a car, if you don't have a driver that wants to come and pick you have very limited options.
And airports are situated far away from city center, so you can't carry your box and be checked.
Lie.
What came to mind was that's what I can do.
And most times it might not also be safe.
Yes, I guess so. But yes, that's by the way. I was going to say that the drivers set the pick up and drop off prices at the airport and train stations between 1,000 Kenya shillings and 5,000 Kenya shillings, which is about half of the price of a flight to the coast and more expensive than a train ticket from Nairobi to Mombasa. Now, the price increases. Well, I'm always of the opinion that ride any prices fares from airports or to the airport are very outrageous. But this is really outrageous.
Something else.
You get. So at this point now, they are now playing into the same thing they are complaining these platforms are doing to them. Right now, who is next to protest now? Users.
We'll not even protest. They will just not
exactly.
use them.
That's their form of
they just
protesting.
Find alternatives.
That's a form of protesting, boycotting them and just saying we're not going to use you again. So I just feel like this battle will just keep going on if regulators don't get involved.
That is it.
And I don't know why it's taking this long, because Uber in Nigeria, for instance, is in its 10th year.
Interesting. They've been there for that long.
And I think I don't know whether Nigeria or South Africa is the first country they launched in Africa. We'll check that now. But they've been here that long. They've been on the continent that long. And I feel that there should be like even more precise regulations around how they offer their services and people use their platforms.
Yeah, Uber came to Lagos in 2014.
2014, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be structure around this, and if there's going to be a an agreement between these two parties, because the thing is, the more exposed the industry gets, the more entrant it gets, the more these people see reasons to request for exactly what they want, because these things has been existing since they came into the market.
Yeah.
You get, and it probably went on like that for years before these drivers started complaining about these things, the term unfair practices. So regulators have to get involved if anything is going to happen, because as it's were now, this one that are setting price like this, that they will suffer. There's one that will suffer for it. So the platforms are angry with you, the users are angry with you. Who want to use your service?
Who's gonna use the service?
Who's gonna use it? So we are back to it. I'm actually working on an article to like explore the kind of tweaks that the Nigerian, the African government can make to their laws, labor laws, that will kind of cushion this effect on this gig economy workers. Because if those tweaks happen, the companies, these tech companies, will not have any other choice but to fall in and cooperate. So that is it. What that means is that God will help them to solve the matter. So yes, that is that on that part of the conversation. So from Kenya we are going to our house. So that's what we'll be discussing today on the podcast. A lot of things happened during the course of the week, and one of the interesting highlights is a report that came up about how much Lagosians rather are earning monthly, and whether it is helping them to meet their needs. Do they get to save?
In short, we are all poor.
No poor in Jesus' name.
Okay.
I couldn't hold that in. Okay. But yeah, it's a sorry state. It shows the reality. An interesting thing is that some people are denying the reality. We just don't want to accept that fact. But yes, that report, you can check out the report or an insight on the report on our website, Techpoint Africa website, techpoint.africa. And you can also check the website for many other things that happen in the African tech space during this week, during the course of this week. Don't forget to, if you're listening to this on Spotify, you can drop a comment for us.
Yeah.
You can also drop a rating. We would love that. Like it, yes. We also love that. We love that. We can also send us your feedback at podcast@techpoint.africa. We'll be happy to receive your response and your recommendation. You can also comment on any of our snippets you find on our social media platform, on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or X. Thank you once again for joining us. This Friday is Speech Friday. You'd want to be there because we have a guest that's coming to talk about a very important discussion when it comes to owning your own business as an entrepreneur.
Yep, it's about raising money for your startup, basically. So if you want to learn the mathematics, the science, and the psychology of fundraising, you want to be at this week's Pitch Friday. And the small chops will also be immaculate.
The venue is Zone Tech
Divine.
Park. We would love to host you, and you get to meet some of us. Yeah. I'm not promising we'll be smiling, but yes, you get to meet.
I'm always smiling, Sha, by default.
Either me, Oluwanifemi, Bolu, Chimgozurim, or the people behind the camera.
Crystal-Agnes.
You get to meet us. If you see me there, don't forget to say I smile a lot. Don't forget to also subscribe to our newsletters. I can't forget that.
It's no longer called the Emerging Tech Newsletter.
Can you imagine? You even forgot the name of your own newsletter.
How Cool Tech? No. I wanted to reintroduce it for people who already know the previous newsletter. So it's called How Cool Tech Works, where we talk about really interesting technological innovations, their history, and exactly how they work. We also have one by Nifemi. It's called
Modern Workplace Newsletter.
Yep. And then we have
Equity
Merchants that tells you
Then
everything you need to know about raising funds, running a startup.
Yeah, and then we have the Techpoint Digest,
Yep.
run by your fave, Victoria. We see what you people do online. So, yes, you can introduce that to other people.
People don't show me love like Victoria, don't worry.
Yeah, not don't that Victoria's love. We need to analyze it, so that
Alright. Okay, no problem.
we'll probably bring her to this podcast to come and tell us how she has viewed people's art.
It's all right.
We can only hope. But yes, we also have our podcast running. Don't forget to listen to modern workplace conversations, how could tech work, Equity Merchants, and also Techpoint Africa Podcast. It's always lovely having you with us, listen to us on this podcast. Next week is another time to join you and for you to join us. Catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.